I'd like very much to thank my colleagues for coming to the floor and speaking to this issue. My colleague from Connecticut, Senator Blumenthal, from Massachusetts, Senator Markey, Senator Warren, also from Massachusetts. I must say that this topic of addiction to tobacco and tobacco products being targeted at our children is not one that is only relevant to one state or this state or that state. It affects the children in rural America, in urban America, and in every state and every corner of our nation. So there's basically a universal impact here. And that's really probably part of why the Senate came together during a period of which there's been substantial dysfunction and substantial paralysis, and said, no, it's time to regulate these tobacco products as the drugs that they are. But during these 6 years, since the bill was passed, we've had no regulation. So I really appreciate my colleagues coming to the floor and trying to amplify the message that this is unacceptable, because children will be addicted, they will develop diseases, they will suffer, and they will die because of the inaction in putting the regulations forward. And this is completely unacceptable. During this time, there's been a lot of experimental products put out by the tobacco industry. They have put out finely ground tobacco in the form of mints, and they put them into hourglass-shaped candy holders so that when students would put them in their pocket, it would look like a cell phone. Now, that may not make sense in this age of smartphones, but just a few years ago, in 2009, when this was being test marketed in my state of Oregon and test marketed in Ohio, the shape of the most popular cell phones had a little bit of an hourglass shape to it. So the idea was it would look like your cell phone and not like that you had tobacco when you were in school. And they came out with a product of toothpicks made out of finely ground tobacco. And they came out with a product of breath strips that you put on your tongue. Can you imagine using tobacco to freshen your breath? But they were experimenting with everything. But the payday wasn't toothpicks, it wasn't mints, and it wasn't breath strips. The payday product is e-cigarettes. I'm going to put back up the chart about the e-cigarettes. There are two fundamental myths propagated by the tobacco industry. The first is that they are not marketing to youth. Well, let's examine the type of flavors in these products. We have apple. These are just ones that are on this chart here. We have cotton candy. We have gummy bear. We have watermelon. We have candy craze. We have Red Bull. We have peach. These candy and fruit flavors are designed to appeal to children and to mask some of the nastiness of smoking. Well, so that's big lie number one from the tobacco industry, that they are not targeting our children. It's absolutely clear that they are. And furthermore, they have to, because they know that replacement smokers, getting new smokers to replace those who are dying because of their product, requires targeting children, because very few people start smoking when they're adults or start using tobacco products when they're adults. The mind of the teenager is the perfect moment to gain traction and produce addiction. And that is why the tobacco companies are targeting our children. The second myth they put forward is that e-cigarettes are simply a wonderful health aid designed to get people to quit smoking. Maybe it's more healthy than a cigarette with a tobacco leaf ground up inside of it, because it's a clear liquid nicotine rather than a cigarette or a cigar. Don't believe for a moment the tobacco companies are trying to help individuals stop smoking. They didn't become billions of dollars in commerce by getting people to stop smoking. Everything about targeting kids is not about getting individuals to stop smoking, but to start smoking. That is the goal, to start smoking, to lead them into a life in which they will spend an enormous amount of money buying a product that is destroying their body. Eventually they will suffer, eventually they will die. It will be a heart attack, it will be lung cancer, it will be a whole host of emphysema. And okay, maybe not every single individual, but a huge number of folks who become addicted as youth will suffer substantial health consequences. And even those who don't have cancer or full-blown emphysema will experience other impacts, health impacts, that make them a less healthy individual and compromise their quality of life. So again, I thank my colleagues so much for coming to the floor to accentuate this message that we have waited far too long for the regulations to get done to take on this industry, and that we are demanding that when the regulation is published, and hopefully that will be very soon, as in days or weeks, that will be a regulation that is written in a forceful, comprehensive fashion, that will not have a grandfather clause that excludes existing products from regulation, and it will not fail to address this powerful instrument being used to target our children, which is fruit and candy flavors. So we ask that now that the Food and Drug Administration has forwarded for final decision-making this decision to the Office of Management and Budget, that OMB come out quickly and forcefully and strongly to address this tremendous blight on our society. Thank you, Mr. President.